Hi, I'm Kate Morris from the Quilted Rose, and today I'm going to be demonstrating on watercolour pencils. This is our new little design called Aunt Betsy's Rose Basket, and this is the design I'll be demonstrating on today. So first of all, the first thing we do is we get our pre-printed design, which the Quilted Rose does all their embroideries on pre-printed designs. And the first thing I do then is I put a backing on it, because when we work with a stabilizer behind it, it makes it so much easier to keep our work in place while we're drawing. So the stabilizer that I use is called G700. It's 100% cotton. It has a glue side and a flat side, and we just iron the glue side to the back of our fabric, trim away the edges, and we're ready to go. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the pencils that we use. I love the Derwent watercolour pencils. These are available from Leslie at Fairies in My Garden. The other pencils that I sometimes use when I don't quite find the colours in this range is I turn to the Statler watercolour pencils, because they're a little bit more vibrant in their colours. However, the Derwents are just beautiful to work with. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we set them once we've coloured it in. So Josonia textile medium is what converts the paint in the pencils to have it adhere to the fabric. Don't use the instructions on the bottle because they use way too much. So in 100 mils of water, we literally only use 4 drops of Josonia textile medium. So prepare your spritz bottle ahead of time with your 4 drops to 100 mils. And I also recommend using cotton tips. The ones that I like to use are the Swispers, as they have a sharp end for one side and a paddle on the other side. And that's great for when you want to get into the fine tips and also when you want to spread wider areas. Okay, so our first thing I'm going to show you is that when I'm colouring in my watercolour pencils, I like to not colour everything in. By leaving some white areas, this allows the white of the fabric to be your highlight. So to start with my rose, I'm going to start a nice deeper centre, leaving some little bits of white. And then coming out on my petals, I'm just going to start shading in and allowing, see the little bit of white I'm leaving? I'm not coming all the way to it. Now when you're shading, if you use your pencil upright, you get a finer area. By bringing your pencil on the side, you can start to get a wider spread in your colour and a soft shading. So choose the angle carefully on which you're going to have your pencil. So we're going to keep building up these little petals. I'm just doing almost little ticking motions around through there, building up my work. And leaving those lovely little bits of white to do the highlighting job for you. I'll just bring a bit more around here, and we'll bring a bit up here. Okay, so now I'm going to do a bit of green on the leaves. So I'm using 2 shades for my leaves. I'm going to start by working some areas through the centre. And then I'm going to bring back with the darker colour, just dragging it back in towards it. And again, making sure that I leave some little bits of white to give it a highlight. And this is where you can bring in your cotton tip, either the fine or the paddle end, and I can just start blending that back through. Now it's really important when you are colouring to follow the grain of which you're trying to emphasize. For example, if I'm doing something that I want it to look round, if I'm shading it straight like that, it looks flat. But the moment I start to give it a curve, as I'm doing it, it starts to give dimension to your work and helps the work to look realistic. So remember the direction in which you're drawing your pencil with. So at this stage, normally people would get their brushes out and dry brush it off and try to not have it run too far. But I've come up with a technique that stops the bleeding of the watercolours at this stage. So what I do, as I mentioned earlier, I prepared my spritz bottle with my solution of 4 drops to 100 mils, and I'm literally just going to give the lightest spray. Now if you were to put it on your hand, you would just feel a very slight mist. So after I've done that lighter spray, I'm going to pop my Teflon mat on and I'm going to give it a 9. And then I'm going to spray again, a little heavier, pop the Teflon mat back and iron again. And I keep building this method up, spraying a little heavier each time, ironing again. Now the reason I use the Teflon mat is that this is a bit of a sticky product. It's almost has a rubbery feel if it's used too heavily, and that sticky product will get on your iron surface if you're not careful. So I use the Teflon mat to make sure that I don't get all the stickiness on my iron. But be sure to clean your mat when you're finished with it. Okay, so we use this procedure until we've finished all of our drawing, and then I give it one more spray all over and completely heat set it. At that stage, it is ready for us to start our embroidery. So by the time I finish colouring this in, it should look something like this. And by the time I finished embroidering it, we've got our beautiful finished product. Now this is Aunt Betsy's rose baskets. It's a new design just released last week at the Quilted Rose. So for any of these products, the spritz bottle with the instructions, the Aunt Betsy's pattern, just have a look at the Quilted Rose website. Come and visit us there, or come into the shop and see us. Looking forward to seeing you then. Thank you for your time. Bye from the Quilted Rose.